welcome to this webinar where we're going to be exploring the Arts Award in SEND settings. It's a webinar that's got two different parts to it. The first part will be with Tom Underwood and Abby Newell, who are both extremely experienced SEND teachers in the arts, and they're going to be helping us to think about how to plan, do and review an Arts Award programme in a school setting. And they're going to be using the Bronze Arts Award as their frame for doing that. And in the second part of the webinar, we're going to be with Mark Woodhead, sorry, from the National Gallery, and Mark's a gallery educator there. And he's going to be sharing with us the opportunities at the National Gallery for SEND students and groups and individuals. And he's going to be taking us through two programmes in particular, Explore It and Sense It. And he's going to be walking us through activities that can be easily done back at school or in the youth group or wherever it is relevant, but basically away from the gallery. Before we get going, I'm just going to do a quick recap on the Arts Award for those who aren't familiar with it. The Arts Award is a nationally recognised series of qualifications for young people aged up to 25 years. It's a flexible, personalised framework. It's not a curriculum. Young people don't have to do set things and reach set targets. It's personalised. And young people can do it in any art form they wish, and evidence also of them undertaking their Arts Award and completing each of the different sections of the Arts Award can equally be in a medium or mediums that actually suit those young people. The 5 levels of the Arts Award are Discover, Explore, Bronze, Silver and Gold. And as young people go through those different levels, I mean, they can enter at any level they wish, the scope of what they do expands. But at the heart of each one of them are 3 different ideas. The first is that young people take part in the arts and they develop their creative skills and abilities. The second is they find out about artists and artists' work and arts organisations and career pathways. And the third is that they share skills and they take the lead. They consolidate and they pass on and they take on roles and responsibilities. So why the Arts Award and SEND? Well, there are a series of things about the Arts Award that make it particularly strong in SEND settings. The first is that it's accessible for children and young people with a range of abilities, backgrounds and individual learning requirements. And this is because it's a personalised framework. It measures and it supports each individual's personal progress. So again, it's not a curriculum. And children and young people can collect evidence for their Arts Award in a range of different formats, meaning that non-verbal or less confident communicators can be supported to achieve the qualification. And the evidence can be presented in any format, provided that it clearly demonstrates the requirements as set out in the advisor toolkit. So, before I introduce you to Abby and Tom, I'm just going to take you through the 4 parts of the Bronze Arts Award, which is the Arts Award that sits kind of in the middle of that spectrum. Abby and Tom are going to use the Bronze Arts Award as for their presentation, and they are going to talk to you about tips, ideas, insights for how they meet or how they plan to meet each part of the Arts Award, the Bronze Arts Award, with the students that they work with. So the first thing in the Bronze Arts Award, Part A, is that the young people explore the arts as a participant. Then Part B is that they explore the arts as an audience member. Then in Part C, they find out about artists that inspire them. They get inspired by artists. And Part D is Art Skill Share, and this is where they pass on skills to others. So, Tom and Abby. Tom's from St Philip's School in Chessington and Abby is from Garratt Park School in Wandsworth. And I'm going to stop screen sharing now and introduce them to you. Hello, Tom.
Hello.
Hello, Abby.
Hi.
I have to tell you, everybody, these guys have been walking around London all day in various different things. And for those of you watching a recorded version of it, it's really hot today. How hot was it in London today?
About 28, 29 degrees, something like that. It's, yeah, pretty warm.
Yeah, I'm in awe of your energy that you're here looking so cool. I'm ready to go. Okay, let's get on with introducing you. Let's start with Tom. Tom, can you tell us a bit about yourself, your school and the students that you work with?
Yeah, so my name's Tom Underwood, and I'm the lead teacher of the arts at St Philip's School, which is in the borough of Kingston. So we're a school for about 160 pupils, all of whom have EHCPs and have moderate learning difficulties, a few with severe learning difficulties as well, and kind of mixture of autism, dyslexia, dyspraxia, ADHD, Down syndrome, and some social and emotional mental health difficulties as well. I'm sorry, we start in year 5 and 6, so we have a little primary contingent, and then we go up to 19 in our sixth form. So predominantly secondary with a little bit of primary mixed in as well.
And how long have you been there, Tom?
So I've been there for 1 year, and before that, I actually worked with Abby. And about 8 years ago, I was Abby's maternity cover, which is how I got back into special needs teaching. So I've worked with Abby a lot as well. So it's great to be able to do this with Abby.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Thank you. Over to you, Abby. Tell us a bit about yourself and your school.
Okay. So very similar to Tom, I'm working in a very similar school. We're an SEND school in Wandsworth. We've got around just over 200 on roll. Our students have MLD, ASD, speech and language and communication needs, plus many of the other needs that Tom's mentioned. I'm the creative and performing arts lead at Garratt Park, and yeah, like Tom said, we've worked together in the past, so it's nice to be able to do this again.
So here's my big question. Let's stay with Abby and then we'll go back to Tom. How long have you been running the Arts Award, and why do you think the Arts Award is a good thing?
So I've been doing the Arts Award for 1 year. But actually we've had the Arts Award running for much longer than that, and Tom was the one who actually started the Arts Award. How long ago, Tom? 5, 6 years?
Probably about 8 years ago, yeah.
8 years ago. So yeah, quite some time ago now. So I run my Arts Award mainly through the visual arts, sorry, Ruth, can I come?
Why do you think it's a good thing? Why do you think the Arts?
I love the flexibility of the Arts Award. I like the fact that we can use any of the arts to deliver the programme, and it gives our students a lot more choice, a lot of flexibility. It's a very achievable accreditation for our young people as well.
Brilliant. Thank you. And over to you, Tom, to finish that bit off. So, obviously we've just heard actually you've run the Arts Award for 8 years.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting is, I've come into a new school, and I haven't actually taught it this year, but it is on my timetable to teach next year. And I suppose one of the reasons it's on my timetable is because I've asked for it, and the reason I've asked for it is because I think it's an accreditation that really works. So I've come into the school where there's lots of really amazing art stuff going on. And we have some great courses that we do with WEJEC, which is the Welsh Board for Creative Media Study and Performing Arts Studies. But for some of our pupils, they're not at that level. So some of our pupils who have more severe learning difficulties, so they're learning pre-entry level. And so for those pre-entry level, having the Arts Award qualification works really well. And, as Abby said, it's very flexible, so you can use any of the arts with it. I'm a drama specialist. Abby's an art specialist, and yet we're both able to use it. And I think the other thing I like about it is that it's very much about participation rather than being highly skilled at the arts, and that works incredibly well in a special needs setting.
I think that's a really good note, actually, for me to now duck out and hand over to you two to take us through conversation, and I know you've got some slides to share as well, the Bronze Arts Award, and your kind of insights in terms of running that, and any guidance and top tips you might give to us. So see you in about 20 minutes.
Thank you. So I'm just going to share and then we'll get started. Oh, no, I'm right at the end there. So let me go to the beginning. Okay. So yes, it's split into 4 parts. So the first part is part A, which is exploring the arts as a participant. So developing interest, knowledge and skills through active participation in any art form. So I don't know about you, Abby, but I've always found this is quite an easy one, really. You know what you're doing with this one.
Absolutely, yeah, and I found that this is the one that it's ongoing. This is happening week in, week out, and I've explored lots of different sort of areas of the visual arts and also photography, and we've done some stop motion animation. So we've really been quite flexible with what we've been doing, and given the students a lot of choice about things that they've actually participated in.
Yeah. So those is that the photos we can see here? Some of the
so you can see
and
there's some students sort of working with various materials there. Sort of, I think we've got a student working with some different seeds and looking at art and nature, and we've got some other students working together to use iPads to take photos. So that was sort of during our sort of photography term that we were doing. But we've also sort of covered things like I said, stop motion animation and all the various parts to that. So sort of some of them were playing around with plasticine and getting creative with plasticine, and other students were using paper and drawing. So it's really given them, as we keep saying, that flexibility and that choice.
Yeah. Do you have a particular stop motion app that you use on the iPad? So one that you'd recommend?
Well, we were mainly using the one called Stop Motion. Which, it's one that you can download on the iPad. It's a free app, works really well, really easy to use, and our students really engaged with it.
Yeah. Okay.
Really good.
Well, a bit different to stop motion, but one of the things I'm interested in at the moment, which you can see here, is silent film. So silent film is something I've used in the past, and if you're a kind of drama specialist in particular, there's a few reasons why I kind of think it works really well. First of all, it's all about, particularly for our kids who are autistic, it's all about big emotions, about big facial expressions, big movements. So there's a kind of, it's kind of easy to read for the kids, those big emotions, a bit like a cartoon, or a bit like some of our kids are really into wrestling. And then I think the other thing I've realized recently doing a bit of a silent film is you can, because you're going to cut the sound out later, you can still keep talking to the kids whilst you're making the film, and you can tell them, let's move over here, and you can point them in a direction. And if you're doing a normal kind of film, that's quite difficult to do, but it's quite that's a nice thing to do when you're working on silent film. And I use iMovie for that, and then also it can link in with some of the things that are a bit more current, like Shaun the Sheep as well. Those kind of link a bit with the stop motion animation there as well.
Brilliant. Yeah.
And you can kind of make it look quite nice as well, the silent films, because you can grade it so quite easily on iMovie, so you can make it give it that kind of vintage black and white film. And it's quite easy to make it look good at the end, and I think that the pupils appreciate that.
And I'm guessing you can use sort of some other aspects of the arts in there as well, sort of making props and sort of the designing the costumes and things. So there's absolutely the arts that sort of link in as well, aren't there?
Yeah, I often do, like, particularly if there's a pupil who doesn't like the drama aspect, they might make the props or the costumes, or we'll have I don't know what you call it, like a card at the beginning of the film, that kind of a title page. A title page. So if there's a particular pupil who's artistic, they might create that title page instead of acting in the film, and they've still been a real part of the experience.
Yeah, so everyone can be involved, no matter
exactly
what element of the arts they're actually enjoying doing.
Yeah. Brilliant. Okay, well let's move on and have a look at to part B. So part B, I think, kind of another really an easier part. I think the last part we'll come to later, part D, I think we'd both agree is a more complex part.
Yeah.
This part is about exploring the arts as an audience member. It's about young people experiencing arts events. So that could be an art gallery, a cinema experience, a theatre trip, all kinds of different things, and then reviewing that experience. So I know you've got some of the things that you've done here.
Yeah, so I mean, these are quite recent actually. So we've got a trip to the Design Museum in London, which was I did with a couple of Year 9 groups. We went to a football exhibition, so it worked quite well for a lot of students who engaged with football because they were quite sporty. So actually, it really engaged them in the design side of actually football, which was really nice. And then we came back and we looked at doing some of our own designs. So we took that on another stage. But you'll also see in the middle there, I've got an invitation to a very special showing of The Wizard of Oz. So I'm actually doing a movie experience for some students in school. So rather than actually taking them out on an experience, we're creating an experience inside school.
Yeah, which I think is important, isn't it? That you know, it's great to get out, and we've both been out today and we're big fans of that, but actually some people's that might not be appropriate, whether that for a period of time or might not be appropriate at all, might be really challenging. So that you actually can do something within school where there's still an audience member, I think is a really important thing to point out.
And it's back to that sort of that flexibility, isn't it? And how much flexibility you have with the Arts Awards. It's not set in stone that you must go out. You can do these other experiences as well, which I find really good. Yeah.
Okay, so if you do go out, there's a couple of things that I just wanted to mention here, which is Into Film. So Into Film is free to sign up to. It's for all schools. It's not particularly linked at special needs schools, but they do also do relaxed film screenings. It's generally once a year around October, November time that they do a film festival, and you sign up for particular films, and those tickets are free. But they occasionally do things the rest of the year, and they also have some kind of resources, and you can sign up if you do want to show a film in school. Lots of us have got Disney Plus and Netflix and all sorts, but they also have a free video library if you want to show something in school. And then another good one that you can see a picture of here. This is Flute Theatre Company, who are a theatre company who work with autistic young people. And they do Shakespeare productions in a very creative, participatory, engaging way. And that could be SLD, PMLD, all kinds of pupils who are autistic could engage with that. So I would really recommend Flute Theatre Company, and you can find out more information about them. They often work at the Riverside Studios at the moment. Right, well, I think we're ready to move to part C. So, yeah, part C. So that's our kind of arts inspiration. So young people researching an artist, obviously that could be an actor, a musician, and then thinking about what inspires them and summarizing what they've learned. I mean, I don't know about you, Avi, but with the arts inspirations, we've had quite a wide variety, from people who design trainers to people who write the music of video games. It's been quite a wide variety of arts inspirations.
Yeah, I found this year particularly, I've had a lot of rappers,
okay,
a lot of graffiti artists, but yeah, like you say, I mean, we have some of the sort of like the old masters like Van Gogh, but we've also got some more current artists as well that people have been inspired by, as well as actors and singers and dancers. We've had a full range of different artists, which has been really interesting. And it's something, again, a bit like the part A, where it's running all through the year. I found that my part C has pretty much run through the year as well, because the way I've done it is we've sort of started it as we towards the beginning of the year, that I've got them to start thinking about it, and they just sort of keep adding to it as the year's gone on. I don't know how you've run it when you've been doing your Arts Award.
Yeah, so in the past, I've often found that it can be quite a good way to engage people straight away, right at the beginning, because really they can choose the arts inspiration. So I found that worked quite well. It can go with their special interest. I mean, sometimes it is really digging deep. I mean, I suppose, just to give a bit of context, at Garratt Park, where I used to work and Abby works, Arts Award is compulsory at the moment. So obviously you get some pupils who might say, oh, actually, I'm not really interested in the arts. And that's where you've kind of got to dig a bit and think, well, actually, who designed that computer game? Who made your who designed your trainers? All of those kind of different parts.
Yeah, sometimes it really is sort of digging deep. Now I was just thinking a particular student who really loves Thomas the Tank Engine, so it was thinking about, you know, who's designed the animation, or who's designed, you know, the artistic elements of that. So it's, you know, it is really thinking about what interests those students and really kind of engaging them that way.
Yeah. And it might not be, it doesn't need to be somebody famous.
No.
You know, I suppose I think that's kind of important to point out as well. So if there is somebody they know who they have some kind of engagement with in their family or in their community, you know, it could be that person, as long as they are involved in the arts.
I think the only thing is they've got to be a real person. They can't be a fictional
Oh yeah.
So you know, there's a real broad scope of people it could be, as long as they're real.
Yeah. So I see, have you often done PowerPoints from your...
Well, that's just the nature of the beast. I think they quite often choose to do a PowerPoint. I think that it's something that they feel comfortable. It's a resource that they feel comfortable using. So most of my students, that's their choice.
Yeah. I mean, in the past I've given pupils a choice of what medium that they could do it on. And it is the variety that they mainly come back to PowerPoint. I will just show actually this quickly, because this is quite nice. If I can actually share the sound as well. So this is an avatar that has been created on the iPad. So there's lots of different avatar. So it's an avatar of a pupil, and then he's kind of recorded his review. So it's only a minute, so I'll just play you it. Abby, you might recognize the voice as well.
Everest, 5 stars. Adventure and drama about free rock mountain climbers who climb Mount Everest. Josh Brolin. He was the guys who played the characters who lost his arms, nose, but he still survived. He was a good actor because he remembered his lines. My favorite scene of Everest was the party scene, because I like a bit of a party. Yeah, la la la, cha cha cha. I enjoyed the film because it was an exciting, true story, but it was sad and depressing because the characters died.
Okay, so you can sort of get the idea that actually it doesn't need to be written, which I think is really good for some of our pupils with learning difficulties. Yeah. For some of the pupils who are more severe in their learning difficulties, they might find it difficult to research online. You know, that is quite a skill, or they might not be able to read. So a couple of things that I've done there for some who can read but would not be able to research. I've done a kind of almost a bit like a kind of reading comprehension. So they read 3 sentences using communicate and print, and then they use the kind of colorful semantics to think, okay, so when was the artist? Who is the artist? When was he born? You know, what did he do? And where was he based? So Brazil. And so they can find that out from those 3 sentences, which is obviously a lot easier than just researching on the computer. Or for some pupils who would even struggle with that, you know, I'm thinking about the group I'm going to be teaching next year, and to go back to the kind of silent film kind of thing, actually looking at Charlie Chaplin, if we were to research him. So if they looked at a picture of Charlie Chaplin, and then what they could learn is what Charlie Chaplin looks like. And actually that's a really good piece of our cultural history. It's kind of embedded in us that most people in the UK know what Charlie Chaplin looks like, even if they can't name a film or something. So we're kind of giving that opportunity for our young people to be part of that cultural history and that cultural identity. And so simply what they might do is they look at the picture, and then they have a series of clues and they find the clothes that matches Charlie Chaplin. So they dress up like Charlie Chaplin, and that's their learning on that arts inspiration. And then just the other thing I just wanted to share is really just thinking about role models for young people with learning difficulties. So the arts inspiration is a really good opportunity to do that, because you can research and find out about people who are arts inspirations who have learning difficulties. So there's a few suggestions there of artists. This is a great one who I've just found out about recently, called J'adore Kid, JK. He is quite a young guy, maybe about 19. So he's autistic and has learning difficulties, and is a cartoonist and graffiti artist. And he has a residency at the Cartoon Museum at the moment. And then we've got Sarah Gordy, who's a Down syndrome actress. And there's a great little film of her on CBBC at the moment called Celebrity Supply Teacher, where she talks about being an actress. So that's a good one to look at as well. Right, well, we've only got a few minutes left, so let's move on to part D. No, I don't want to play that again. No, here we go. Part D. So this is the hard one, I think. What do you think, Abby?
Yeah, I think it's a lot more difficult than the other 3 parts of the Arts Award, but no, it's still achievable. I've found that we've planned it again. We've ended up using sort of a very structured PowerPoint, Google Slides, where I've got structured questions on there that they've answered to plan out what they're going to do. And then most have chosen to present it either by working one-to-one with someone to share a skill with them, or to actually make an instruction video. So a lot of my students have actually chosen to work with the iPads, and they film each other basically making an instruction video of how to do something. And that's worked quite well.
Yeah, I'll show you. Shall I show the pictures here? Sorry.
Oh, yeah, sorry. So yeah, I mean, as you can see the pictures there, the first one planning out their skills share. So someone had planned out to draw a vampire mouth, and they've explained exactly how they're going to do it and what they're going to need. And we've got another one there, which is just, it was a film of, you might not be able to see it under the gallery of pictures, but it's just a film of someone showing how to use an iPad as a camera. And so they've shared their skill that way.
Well, I think you've kind of taken all my ideas there.
Sorry.
Because that was a key one that I've often did is particularly TAs or teachers who are not very IT literate, getting the kids to show them how to use photography, or an artistic app on the iPad can be a really good one to do for part D. Or I've done some stuff around kind of optical illusions. So they're teaching that, or makeup bruises is the other one we did for a while as well. So that was quite fun as well. But I have known other staff who have done this with non-verbal pupils, and it's been very much based on what that pupil's special interest is, or a special artistic thing that they might do. And then they would have the adults sit next to them. I think it's often good to do with an adult with our guys, because that's a safe, how that person's going to respond really. So I tend to often do it with adults as the person they're sharing it with, and I think that's important. It's not teaching, it's sharing.
Sharing, yeah.
Yeah, and so the adult might sit next to them, and they choose the equipment for the adult to use, give it to them, and then the adult kind of copies what they're doing, so they're kind of joining in with the arts activity, and that's how they're sharing. The sharing doesn't need to be verbal, and it doesn't need to be written. It can be a kind of shared attention for that activity.
I found as well, sort of with my students that are verbal, that I did quite structured questions as well as I'm filming them doing, for example, taking photos with the camera. I'm asking them questions that they can show me how to do certain things. So it's showing that they do know how to do it, and they can show me how to do it.
Yeah.
Sort of structuring what I want, or what they're sharing, which was quite useful.
Yeah. Well, Abby, I'm incredibly proud of us, because it's exactly our time to stop, and we've managed to do everything and say everything. So I think we're ready to pass back now.
Fantastic.
I want you to stay. You can't go away. That was
Are you impressed with
brilliant.
that timing though?
That was amazing. I could never do timing. Yeah, I'm also the awe is just building up. So listen, so with the that was a really great tip there, Abby. So that actually you're there and you're prompting, which actually then allows the young person to step into the space and kind of do their sharing.
Yeah.
When it comes to their, so in all of the parts of the Bronze Arts Award, there's always the and what have you learned? The young person has to share what they've learned or in some way express what they've learned. How do you then do that next bit? So what did I learn from sharing this skill? What would be any top tips that you might give us for that?
Right, Tom.
Yeah.
Tom, do you want to start with this one?
Yeah, so I guess we're particularly thinking about pupils who might not be able to do it in a traditional academic way, if you like. So I would have choices available for them. So I'd use some kind of communicate in print resources, and then they could choose, what have you learnt? So there might be some different choices. So things like, did you learn? And then obviously questioning as well from the adult. Was it about you need to speak louder or you need to speak slower? You need to point. So there would be some different choices. I think if you the other thing is if you film the pupil doing the sharing, then you can play it back to them multiple times. And if you can, as much as possible, to get kind of that instant feedback, it is really good.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of adding to that as well as film. If you've got photos as well, I found that quite useful as a prompt to sort of like have a look at a photo of them doing an activity, sort of with the part A, for example. And if they're verbal, then they're able to sort of perhaps remember what it is that they were doing and what they'd actually got from that. So I think all those kind of visual aids are really, really helpful.
And then would you maybe annotate the photographs for them if necessary, or they could annotate?
Some of my students are able to do their own writing. Many will scribe for them, so they'll communicate to us and we can write that down.
I think there's something we could all learn actually from that choices that you've just defined there, is that I should probably out the fact I'm an Arts Award moderator, and I think actually quite often it's setting up the framework or setting up the structure for young people to find their critical voice is key to them being able to find it. And I think the example you gave there then was really helpful. Thank you. And I have to say, I was going to ask that question actually all the way through about how do you do that reflection bit, but I think you've given us some top tips there, which is do it in the moment if you can, film it or take photographs, but you need those visual triggers or that visual material will really help people to be able to process.
I mean we're working with young people who have memory difficulties, so any visual aids or immediate feedback is important.
Definitely.
Can I ask Tom, how difficult was that avatar to do? Because that was, I have to say, one I'm going to just share with lots of people, Liv.
It was quite easy to do. I think what I then did is I edited it together on iMovie, the different clips that he made, which might be the bit that some people might find more difficult. But actually, I'm sure as a moderator, I could have just had a series of those avatars. I didn't, need to edit it together, did I? That was just
absolutely not. And it was wonderful. It was a really, really strong way of doing it. Guys, thank you so much. That was really so helpful, and I love the way you had the conversation, and that kind of it felt very, very helpful. Thank you.
Yes.
I've got a few last slides I'd like to share for part A. Part A of the Arts Award, for part one of this webinar, which is just to kind of share some resources that are available from Trinity to support teachers and people working with in SEND settings. So I'm going to wave goodbye to you both, if that's okay, and just thank you enormously for all the work you've done today. I know it's no mean feat to put these things together, so thank you. Right, so last few slides. So on the Trinity website, the Trinity Arts Award website, there are quite a few resources to support people undertaking the Arts Award with young people who are SEND. And these top tips are there. And I think it's great actually. These evidencing top tips are ones that, Abby and Tom just completely covered. So use of photographs, symbols and signs, audio and video recordings, witness statements, speech bubbles, sketches, collages, etc. They're all really great ways of evidencing the young person's participation in the Arts Award. There's some key things that if you're an experienced Arts Award moderator, you'll just go, yeah, I know this, but just for those of you who might be starting out, children and young people with individual learning requirements may need more support to help document their learning. Plan for this. It's a key thing that happens is that it does take quite a lot of work to document the experience. So you need to embed it and plan for it beforehand rather than being caught on the back foot with it. So you need to build in time to work on collecting and recording evidence during delivery time, which is what Tom and Abby just said, so that you don't rush at the end and you don't miss collecting that evidence. Getting young people to reflect on what they've done may be a challenge. So think about different ways you can do this. Again, I mean, brilliant feelings. So for example, feelings from a choices menu, which is what, again, Tom and Abby have just talked us through. And I think this one is a good one to end on, is that through creating a portfolio or arts log, young people will have a tangible record of their achievements that they can feel proud of. There are Arts Award logbooks you can purchase from the Trinity site, and these logbooks are really, they're beautifully designed, and they are ways that you can collect evidence for each part of the award. So each young person has a logbook, and they put their evidence into that. They're very appealing. They're things that people can take home so they can share them with their families. But equally, they're really helpful for you because you can see where the young person's at in terms of their Arts Award, how much material they've collected. And then these are the resources that are available on the Trinity website for you to support you. So there's an evidencing one, there's two different evidencing one, there's some case studies, and then there's a really kind of helpful handout that takes you through working with SEND. So that is the end of part one of this webinar. I'm going to say goodbye to you now, and I'm going to hand over to my colleague Joyce, who is going to screen share for our second part.